But again, I love talking to people about their story. I'm fascinated with people, and I believe that people are all different and they're all special in a unique way. And I find that by presenting stories of many different people to others, somebody may hear something that inspires them to go do something great. And that's really why I do this show. And I think right now is a great time to put out, you know, content like this, because again, based on your mission, which we'll go over. But I always like to start with, what was it like as a kid for you? I think a lot of us, we've had great childhoods. We've struggled as kids. We have some crazy thoughts as kids, but ultimately that could really drive us in our journey. So what was it like growing up for you?
First of all, I was blessed to be born, one, with a happiness gene. So I
Mm.
always kind of saw life with the glass half full. And that's become more and more important as I got older, to realize that everybody has like a quantum baseline of happiness. And, knowing my mission, that became important. But moreover, I secondly was blessed to have such an extraordinary family. So like an incredible mom, raised 6 kids, worked 2 jobs. I always say to my kids, man, I don't know how I can teach you what I learned when I was a kid. Fortunately, they were all born with the happiness gene as well. So I got a little bit of leeway there. And then the third thing growing up that was interesting is, albeit that I was super happy, the only time that there ever seemed to be great challenges in my life, it was financial.
Mm.
With a single mom, the only time I ever saw my mom unhappy was with financial stress, the car breaking down, not enough money for food. How was she going to pay for the fetuses to be fully developed as graduate students someday? These things would, push my mom into tears. And so as a little boy, when my dad left at 5, I saw my dad as like super successful. He left my mom. Back then there wasn't really deadbeat dads. It was the 70s. It was a
Yeah.
different scene about divorces. So he married this beautiful girl closer to my age than his, drove his convertible Cadillac, race horses, harness horses, and trained them. He was like my superhero at 5. So the story that like put you into perspective is, I just figured that I'd be rich like my dad and buy my mom a house and a car. And, I literally would ask my mom, why can't you be more like dad?
Mm.
Meanwhile, she was so humble and so wonderful. She never did disparage my father at all. So I was born and raised in this extraordinary, loving environment that had no money. So that hole became my destiny, that I
Yeah.
was going to make a lot of money. You can see behind me, right? I used to think, money buys happiness and love. And my journey is about learning what money means in my relationship to money, that isn't about buying happiness or love.
Yeah. So cool. So what does it mean now? Because I know your story and I'll let you get more into it, but
Yeah,
you know,
sure. Money to me now is, it was my thermostat, right? Money was my defined being. It was literally exactly who I was and what I was going to become. And so I equated everything to my bank account. That was my thermostat for life. And so money, in my mind, and everything reinforced it up until 2 years before I lost over $100 million and lost everything. 2 years before is when I learned the lesson that money doesn't buy love or happiness, but it allows you to shop.
mm,
And what I learned was that it allows you, if you shop for the right things, to come through you for others in an abundant world, and more than enough for everyone and everything. You can be super happy. But if you shop for the wrong things in a scarce world, either as a victim in a world of not enough where everything happens to you, or even when I became a multimillionaire 9 months out of law school, I lived in the world of just enough, where I was
mm,
buying things I didn't need for people, to impress people I didn't like,
right.
right? When you do that, you're going to be unhappy. So money is a currency, an object of energy that you put into the flow to get things that you want. If you buy the right things, you're going to be happy. If you buy the wrong things, you won't be happy. But it's definitely a main chord in my life. Make a lot of money, help a lot of people, have a lot of fun. Everything comes through me for others.
Yeah. So for you, with that currency, where do you put that currency now? How do you go after happiness?
Yeah. So, what I learned was, the more that I give, the more I received. And that's a very dangerous thing, because it seems benevolent, it seems humanitarian. But I've shifted that paradigm, because what happens is, when you believe that the more you give, the more you receive, giving isn't unconditional. It's judgmental. It's conditional. It actually is a trade. So I would give so I could get acknowledgement. I would give so I could get recognition. I'd give so I get respect. I'd give so I'd get gratitude. Whatever it was, there was always a trade. Or I'd give to get profit, right?
Yeah.
And what I shifted in my paradigm was I receive, and I want to receive as much as I can. And most people have a problem receiving so that I can give. It's a completely different perspective and energy. And so I shifted that paradigm in 2006, 2 years before I lost everything, into I was going to receive as much as I can, allow it to come through me with appreciation, gratitude, and my ability to add value to it and give it away to others my entire life.
Yeah. How did you do it? I'm fascinated because, I train athletes for a living and develop talent. And I find it's like, hey, we have this idea and I want to do it. And I do it for 2 or 3 days. And then all of a sudden I revert back to my old money chasing self. How'd you do it?
So one, I created a habit machine about happiness, right? Because happiness was my ultimate goal. It's the greatest virus of all time, spread by witnessing it, strengthens your mental, emotional, and physical state. It'll actually strengthen your immune system. So it protects us against other things.
Right.
So I said to myself, first, I need to start defining things in my life. So I defined happiness as that habit machine of I was going to enjoy the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of my potential. I was going to vote for and go up to bat for what I believed in, that I wanted. So in order to do things that way, I created 5 steps. And it has been that habit machine. Number 1, take inventory of my values every day. No, and don't be afraid of being a hypocrite. Don't be afraid of changing the way that you feel and who and what and where. We're all so surprised and offended, when things change, right?
Yeah.
And scared. Not me. I change my values every day. I look at my personal, experiential, giving and receiving values based upon gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, and inspiration. That's number 1. Number 2, most importantly, ask. I teach and perform, ask in person, on the phone, via email and media, radio, print, TV, social media. I ask how I can be of service or value, making room for what I want. But more importantly, I ask, do you know anyone that could help me? I started asking people, not as gatekeepers, how to get around them, over them, through them, but instead as a sponsor. Do you know anyone that can help me? Or as a power sponsor, can you, or do you know someone that can help me? And the whole world started to open up, and there was less resistance, interference, and obstacles and voids and shortages. I was finding the superpowers in everybody and building on the relationships that we're all connected and we all want to help. We already all know our why, and really leveraging that by giving people the what, the who, and the how, and allowing the why to reveal or illuminate itself. So number 2 was to ask. 3, very pragmatic. This is one for all your guys. I'm a student. So every day, I have 2 routines, a set routine and an adaptable routine, but every day I have 2 periods of time that I study. Study is paying attention to and giving intention to what I think, say, do, believe, and even knowing the unconscious competencies of my personality traits, characteristics, obsessions, and addictions, my DNA, like the happiness gene. Yeah. I aggregate all those into intention, knowing that what I study, pay attention to, plus intention to, gets the coincidences I want in my life. Other people call coincidences luck. I call it a mathematical occurrence of attention and intention. 2 things that coincide perfectly together at the right way at the perfect time is a coinciding of events. It's a coincidence. I'm the luckiest guy in the world, but I coincide everything through intentional behavior by giving my focus to it. So I started picking out what should I study every day in the morning and at night. And the first thing is my calendar. Right? I want to study the activity I get paid for and the activity I don't get paid for, aligned with the values that I have and the questions I need to ask. So I study what I have planned during the day with a lens of productivity. How much value can I provide? A lens of accessibility. How can I access what I want? And how accessible am I to others to be connected? And finally, a lens of gratitude. Finding the light, the love, and the lessons in everything, knowing that pain's an indicator that I have to learn a lesson: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial pain. Just an indicator I got a lesson to learn, and I can get excited because of my habit machine of enjoying the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential. So I study what I have planned, what I don't have planned, the white space in my calendar, the empty space, and sleep. As you know, as a performance coach, people don't realize that we all share the number 1 habit that has the most impact in our lives. That's when we're connected without the ego interference to the subconscious and unconscious mind, to the greatest source of power, light, lessons, and recovery. And so I study sleep. The 4th thing is do it now. this is a mathematical one. I used to joke around. The only statistic I know to be true is 99% of all statistics are made up. But I found two statistics to be true. Number one, 100% of all short putts don't go in. And I know that to be true.
So true.
The second one will change your life. 100% of the things that you do now get done. And you as a performance coach knows the distinctive property of getting stuff done, that it is the separator between the great ones and the good ones. Those people that get stuff done are the successful people in the world. So I ask myself, can I do it now? If I can do it now, I do it. It saves at least twice as much time, exponentially more statistically successful. And if I can't do it now, I put it in my calendar tomorrow to make and to prioritize about what's most important. Then finally, most importantly, which is the practice that you have, as I've studied you and what you're doing, you probably have different terminology, but I call it practicing ending fear, right? How can we get out of our own way? How can we realize to get rid of the interference, the corrosion between me and the most powerful source of light, love, and lessons and power, and allow it to come through me with that appreciation for others, and also clear the interference that we have, the ego-based consciousness between me and everything else I'm connected to, people, places, things, etc. A tree has no branches. And I see so many times people thinking that one branch of a tree would go to war against another branch, and they create all of this corrosion and interference to the tree as a whole, because two branches think somehow that they're separate, inferior, superior, right, offended, resentful, guilty, fearful, anxious, whatever it may be. So I spend a majority of my time practicing ending fear. When I'm in the fear-based consciousness, identifying it, stopping, dropping down by breathing into a Buddhist state of neutrality, and then rolling ferociously in the right trajectory.
Yeah. So for someone that, I agree with you 100%. I think so many, the athletes I work with, the executives I work with, they're so fear-driven. And that means it turns them into these obsessive machines that can't turn off. Like for someone that's just starting out in this and is just sort of having this level of consciousness, where would you suggest they start?
Yeah, first lower the bar, right? It's like anywhere else. If you want to be a marathon runner, you're not going to tell the guy to go run 50 miles, right? You're going to stretch. So I see everything as a practice. I see everything with its potential of acceleration and exponential growth. So the easiest way is to get things moving, to get started. And so the best thing we can do is realize that 2 minutes a day is worth more than 2 hours on a Saturday. Yeah. And if you can get your mind, body, and soul aligned with doing something consistently every day, persistently without quit, and learn to find the light, the love, and the lessons in it, meaning enjoy it. Yeah. A couple of the tricks besides lowering the bar is just remember the first 10 minutes suck. This has been a golden rule of mine that changed my life, is like, those days, no matter what it is, and you don't want to do it, clean the closet, work out, eat right, or whatever. It's amazing by just telling yourself that, you know what, don't worry, bro. First 10 minutes suck. Just do it. And just reminding yourself the first 10 minutes suck, but it always is good after the next 10 minutes. Yeah. It helped me accelerate everything that I want just by those simple two things: lower the bar and the first 10 minutes suck.
Yeah, no, I'm right with you. I always say, if you listen to yourself, you won't do anything. So talk to yourself and or coach yourself and push yourself. Let's go. Come on. I do it all the time. And again, high level athletes, as you know, day in and day out. So with all this, do you work on the weekend? Are you someone that's a weekend worker?
So I don't believe in work. I believe in activity I get paid for and activity I don't get paid for. I take vacation every day. I also strive to have as much activity I get paid for every single day that I can. And I enjoy the activity I don't get paid for. And so I do prioritize a minimum of an hour a day on my health, a minimum of 30 minutes with my wife, a minimum of 30 minutes with my son, minimum of 2 minutes a day with my 3 teenage daughters, and a minimum of a minute a day with my mom. I do have a minimum of 10 minutes a day being a student of my calendar. And then the rest of the day is executing on that attention and intention to my calendar. What I have planned, what I don't have planned, and my sleep. I know it sounds simple, but it'll change your life and your perspective when you realize that it's arbitrary and capricious to put the word work to anything. Because I'll give you where it came to me is, I know that Padres pay their second baseman $2 million a year. Right? He goes to work. When he goes to taping, he watches film. When he's in the batter's box in front of 60,000 people, he's working. supposedly by this construct of what everybody thinks. Now, I also know that I would pay $2 million next year if the Padres let me play second base. Right? I would pay. Same job, same activity, correct?
Yep.
And here's the sadder thing for the Padres. I can guarantee that not only would they save the $2 million by not paying that kid, and they would get $2 extra million by playing me, but I could guarantee that we'd come in the same places they did last year at the very least.
Not too hard, right?
Right.
That's awesome.
Although I'll tell you this, I got one advantage being a San Diego fan, both football and baseball, is that they have a huge advantage this season because they're so used to playing in front of nobody that people will be like, how inspired are they? Those guys, why are they say up for this game? Because they're used to nobody being in the stands.
That's so true, Ed. It's so true. I imagine too, living in San Diego, I feel like a lot of what you're preaching, like I come from New York. It's a pressure cooker. It's always hot there. We're always moving and we're always shaking. I feel like a lot of what you're speaking to, your environment also can help facilitate some of this calming and relaxation, you know.
I'm the opposite of you, man. I have to go to New York to remind me what my need be. Anybody sees me, they're like, oh, you're from New York? Everybody, right? Nobody ever was like, oh, you're from California? Yeah. So I actually have to go make sure I don't get too complacent and laid back in San Diego and Southern California. So this COVID thing's killing me because I used to go to New York minimum every other week just to get revitalized because there's so much more energy things. So I joked around, but this is true. I took a China bus. Some people may not know what that is, but they had this like $8 bus with internet that would go from Manhattan into Philly, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Those are wild, man. I tip my cap to you.
It's awesome. I told my wife, I'm like, you know what's so interesting? I go, the vibration, the frequency of New York City is so high that the driver of my China bus literally was more educated than half the people I know in Southern California. Wow. Like the analogies that he used, the vocabulary that he had, like he was so well read, articulate. I'm like, this guy should be a CEO of a company and he's driving the $8 China bus more than the executives of some $1 million company in San Diego.
So this is interesting because like for me, I grew up in New York and I'm already high energy. Like the place exhausts me. I love going to where you are so I can chill out. And then it's the opposite. For me, New York City is like, I got to go in and I got to get out. But I've heard that a lot from people from out west and the Midwest. They go to New York and they feel like new people. They come back to their environment and they're on fire.
It's the Tesla supercharger, man. I fly into New York to get supercharged and then come out when the battery gets low again. I fly back in, hook up to the Tesla supercharger.
That's amazing because you know what? Before I met you the first time in person, I thought you were gonna be much more like the New York personality, and then I'm like, wow, he's really chill. He's very laid back, you know. So I'm like, is he laid back, but the wheels are just turning hardcore, or what?
Yeah. I'm both. I'm a ferocious Buddha. Literally, I am ferocious about two things. One, stopping when I'm in ego-based emotion, right, which is my natural state of the need to be right, offended, separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry, all those things that accelerate us in the wrong trajectory. I'm ferocious about stopping. That's where my free will lies. And then I'm really good at being a Buddhist. You know, like when I get into truth consciousness, I'm at my highest frequency. I breathe through my nose. I meditate. I'm very Zen. But then when I get into that neutrality, the highest frequency, I'm also very ferocious about moving towards what I want. Right. And so I have this yin yang about my personality where it's like, oh yeah, I see the San Diego surfer, this Buddhist Zen guy lying on his surfboard contemplating the universe and our existence. But then again, I also see, you know, the New York Jewish lawyer, you know, the shark, the sports agent that is literally get out of his way because he is one, you know, bad little dude.
Yeah. Yeah. And I imagine, well, which side do you naturally gravitate towards?
Oh, the ferocious side. It's taken me 52 years to become the Buddha. And it's still like, all I did though, like, is I realigned that ferocious attitude towards stopping myself from being an ego-based idiot, a narcissistic a-hole. And so that's innate in my being. I just learned how to focus that energy to make myself a better, higher frequency person, a more enlightened person, a calmer person, which sounds really funny that I'm like super aggressive and super competitive. And I
Yeah.
use that to be Zen.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. Listen, we're all unique, and we all, like I said, we all have our own way about us. But I find it interesting because I've tried to work more towards that myself. You know, the chilling out, the slowing down, and it's like for me, it's grasping that you could still be. My language is you could still be a go-getter and still be a killer, but do it in a different way.
Yeah.
And you know, I see so many of these, you know, titans in New York that they can't stop that pursuit and that chase and that kill, and they have no routines in which you're talking about. When you look at their calendar, it's nothing but meeting, 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 not a lot of exercise, definitely not any deep breathing or anything like that. So I imagine, was it somewhat foreign to you, these concepts, when you first started?
Woo! Yeah, man. In fact, the only reason I got started is the person that taught me, my guru of theta meditation. She was talking about how if she could raise my frequency or my vibration through meditation, I could be more aware of things. So I told her straight out, this is like 14 years ago, my diatribe was, you know, only poor people meditate, people that are high, smoke pot, sit on their mom's couch, sleep all
There you
day.
go.
Those are they're broken and sick all the time. Those are the people I knew that meditated. I was like this aggressive dude that you were talking about. And then she told me, well, you know, you can only be aware of that which vibrates equal to or less than you. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Then she said, including when to buy or sell things. I'm like, what? She goes, you know, through meditation, you can raise your awareness and have an intuitive ability to figure out when to buy and when to sell.
Okay.
Which I've always said is the cornerstone. The margins of millionaires are made for the people that know how to buy when things are oversold and
Mm,
sell when things are overbought. I don't care what it is. You can go
yeah.
ahead and ask an expert for that answer, but literally, those are the margins of millionaires right there. When she said that, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give this a try. It was
Yeah.
totally economic, scarce greed that led me into meditation. And then literally it changed my life. And now I never think about when to buy or sell through an awareness. It's all about expansion and growth and being of service and of value and empowering over 1 billion people to be happy so that they can experience the life that they and their potential have dictated for themselves. And if we can create a collective consciousness of happiness, man, this abundant world, I would show everybody there's enough of everything for everyone. You know, happy people don't attack other people,
Mm,
right? Happy people don't steal things. They don't hurt other people. They have no judgments or conditions. And so I'm getting to the root and source of how we can create a better universe and a better society through
yeah.
happiness.
It's awesome, man. I think so many people that look at life as me versus you, and it's totally off. You know,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
me versus myself, my ego. It's truth versus ego consciousness. Consciousness.
yeah.
That's my perspective.
Really think about it. We have enough of our own things that we need to be working on. That how the hell do we have enough time to worry about what so and so is doing? You know what I
Oh,
mean?
I got a
Stay.
great story. Lee Steinberg, the great sports agent,
Yeah.
Jerry Maguire. So, you know, I ran his sports agency and I had to do some speeches and I walked into a room disheveled from a negotiation and I was like, Lee, am I okay? Do I look okay? You know, is everything okay? And it just reminds me what you just said. He looked at me and goes, Dave, you know what all these people are thinking right now? I'm like, what? He goes, number one, not how you look. They're thinking, they're thinking, do I look okay? Right?
It's true.
That's exactly. You should be looking and seeing not what other people are wearing, but literally know that the only thing that really matters is you look within yourself to make sure you're okay. Everyone else will resonate with what you feel.
So it's so true, man. So I gotta ask you this. I got a couple short ones for you, but one is Friday's a big day for you. Every day, I'm always on the social, and I'm seeing there he is again pushing Friday, Friday, Friday. So tell us about Friday. How did Friday become such a big day for my man Dave Meltzer?
Well, I had to compete with my younger brother, who's a Harvard summa cum laude grad that speaks 6 languages and runs a huge congregation in San Diego. So it's Shabbat for him. And so
Mm.
Friday is a special day for him. I had to compete with my sibling rivalry, deal with that.
Okay.
But I've been doing trainings for 20 years. They started as sales trainings just to help people elevate themselves by making more money and
Mm.
helping people and having fun through sales. But my main journey, when I realized the power of happiness and how it was able to help me re-engineer my life from literally the depths of losing everything that I had, over $100 million, and making it back through abundance and through positivity and empowering others. I went on a mission to do a training every Friday. It used to be small in my office, buy everybody lunch, and it's grown and grown into thousands of people now. Every Friday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. More people obviously watch the download of the podcast and the free replays as well. But it's nothing's being sold; it's all free. But I do everything from the ultimate ego training to sales pitch. I have a TV show called Elevator Pitch. To literally, this week is building a community, finding your frequency, toughness in telephone. So I deal with all types of issues, and it's really there to help people. Because my main mission in life, I want to find 1,000 people like you, Dana, that literally will empower 1,000 people in your life to empower another 1,000, 1,000 times 1,000 is a million times 1,000 is a billion. So if I can utilize this platform for free to empower over 1 billion people to be happy, a collective consciousness of happiness, little old, humble me, the average Joe, can change the world.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, man. What are any cool stories that have come out of these Friday gatherings? Some people that have done some really cool things, or people that have hit you here?
Oh yeah. So, I mean, every week I get these stories, and it just is remarkable. And I'm going to be completely transparent because it cracks me up. Some people will tell me, David, I've been saying thank you every night before I go to bed and when I wake up. And, my entire life has changed around. My marriage is better. My kids are healed from whatever. And I'm making millions of dollars. Thank you so much. Like, you're a genius. And I'm thinking, oh, what a legacy. I taught them to say thank you. And then, or my other big one, what the biggest one that people literally, it changes their business is the idea of this asking. Right? Student your calendar and asking are really huge things for people. But if I can get people to ask, invariably, 10, 20 people tell me in a very short amount of time. I had a guy yesterday tell me, literally was at the bottom of 5,000 sales reps, right? When he started watching my stuff. And he started following what I taught. He read Connected to Goodness, but really started asking. And not only was he the top sales guy going on all these trips and making literally 7 figures now, but they accelerated him into like the program that normally takes 5 years to get into, that he did so well and is outperforming everyone. And like his big takeaway was, yeah, thanks for teaching me to ask people.
Wow.
Which is such an important thing to ask, not only how you can be of value, but really start practicing asking people, hey, do you know anybody that can help me? It's a really soft ask, but you'll be amazed how many people feel good by helping you.
Yeah, people really do. They love to help. So I agree with you 100%. I'm amazed too, even among the people that I ask. I mean, I appreciate you coming on here today. I asked, you said yes, but there's so many people that will say yes. And I've seen it for years in sports and business. And it's those asks, you're right. They can change your life. And ask and a thank you, right? Who would have thought?
Yeah, it's amazing. And like, even to the point where my relationship with Gary Vaynerchuk, like people are like, how'd you hook up with him? Like, well, he asked me for help.
Yeah.
Right. He asked me for help for his sports agency that him and his brother were starting. And that's how we built a relationship. And then I kind of picked up on how magnanimous the guy and humble the guy was. I'm like, hey, maybe I should ask you for help. Can you make a middle-aged mutant turtle like David Meltzer brand on Instagram? Now I'm the most famous middle-aged guy on Instagram.
That's awesome. Hey, that's awesome. Whatever it takes, man. All right. I got one more for you and then I got to let you go. But so I call it the Becoming a Champion show. And I always end it with this. What does the word champion mean to you?
Someone that has lived and pursued their potential and enjoyed it. So for me, a champion is someone that enjoys the consistent, persistent pursuit of their potential. So for example, one of my greatest championships in my life is I was an average Division III football player.
Okay.
That was a big champion for me because it was the closest to the potential that this unbelievable athletic physique can handle.
That's awesome, man. Hey, but you're right, man. That's what it's about. We're all on that journey. So just you reached your peak, Division III football, but you got there. I work with a lot of young kids. Same thing. It's like you don't always have to go D1. Somebody's dream is just to get to that college level.
Oh yeah, and it's still one of the best experiences. I've traveled the entire world with the greatest celebrities, athletes, entertainers, etc., at the greatest events, and still playing Division III football has to be one of the greatest experiences of my life. So that's what made me a champion, and I did it the best I could.
Yeah, right there, I did it the best I could. Awesome. David, thanks so much, man. Great seeing you, and I'm sure I'll see you when everything lifts.
I sure hope so. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
All right.
Remember, be kind to your future self. Join me on Fridays.
Friday. I'll put it in the notes too.
All right.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks. See you
Okay.
guys. See you, Dave.
Bye-bye.
Bye.